This is just a quick follow-up video to the last one I did. I did a little review on this Dewalt table saw, a couple of issues I had with it. First of all, I just wanted to let everyone know this has been an amazing little saw. I finished a shop with, or an office with it. I finished a barn with it. I've been building cabinets. This thing is just a workhorse. And keep it clean. There's some simple maintenance instructions with the saw. If you keep up with it, it's a great little saw. I've loved it. But one of the issues I had was with this miter gauge here. It's kind of sloppy, but one thing that's helped, thanks to one of the commenters, is I just took a piece of simple pine board, attached it through the slots with a couple of screws. I know I didn't line those up very well, the screws anyway, but on the front edge here, when I attached it, I just made sure that was flush against the table and screwed it in. It's worked great. You line it up against the front edge, you give you a perfect angle. If you're cutting angles, this thing turns nicely. You just line it up to the angle you want there. And I don't recommend it necessarily for trim, but if you need to do some quick angles or whatever, it works great. So that was my first thing. One of the things I did notice is when I was cutting and I had something up against the fence there, I was getting a little bit of stick, and to prevent, I didn't want to, when I was making those grooves, I didn't want to risk miscutting, and so I sprayed a little silicone spray across the table and against the fence there, and it made things slide much easier, significantly easier. I hope I wasn't hurting the surface by doing that. I've done it several times and it seems to be okay, but it just makes everything slide much nicer, especially if you're doing something like dado joints and you can't afford to mess up that groove. The front edge, as you noticed, I put on my wet dry vac. I've just got a simple Home Depot wet dry vac I've ended up putting on the port. Someone mentioned it just goes right in, and sure enough, fortunately I had the bigger connector. I think it's 2.5 inch. It just slides right in there. This Bosch bag I have that I've been using because I didn't have access to that vacuum out here. It was actually stuck in my garage for other uses, but it has been doing a good job. It's got a lot of sawdust in there. And if you don't have access to a vacuum, I recommend that. My problem is with the shelf I'm building here, I'm using a lot of this high density fiberboard here. This stuff is, when you cut it, no matter what you're doing, it creates a fine dust in the air, and it hurts your nose. It makes it hard to breathe. It's just nasty, and I've been using a lot of it. You can see here, this is the same stuff people use for whiteboards. I've been cutting this. My shells themselves are high density fiber. Also, this is actually leftover wood from Home Depot, and I'm building my wife a ink pad storage with this stuff. But regardless, it's nasty dust to breathe in. I don't like it at all, and this is taking that dust down tremendously. You can see there's still quite a bit of dust on the ground there, but the other benefit is not only does it suck in a lot of the dust, but if you turn the saw off and you leave the vacuum on, it helps filter out the air and helps get that fine dust out of there and collects in there. And just make sure you change your filter or clean the filter often. Got the Diablo blades. Someone recommended those. They've been great. The 8-inch blades for the 10-inch saw. You can see I've done a bunch of those little dado grooves there, and they've been great. So whoever recommended those, I appreciate that. So again, great little saw. I've loved it so far. Nothing but good to say about it. Still wish they'd have put a better miter gauge with it. Eventually I'll probably end up buying one of the better ones, but this little sled here was a good suggestion. They all were. So appreciate your comments, and thank you.